Hello, hello, hello. Happy Valentine's Day, whatever that means, pagan celebration of love. Right, I want to talk today, I'm going to talk about Wellingborough by-election, my trip to Sri Lanka, the strange judgment in the court case and the fact that 3.5 years is now going to be 4 years, at least, before an appeal goes in, and generally spread the love. Oh, maybe we'll talk a bit about Abdul and why Sadiq's surveillance state, which can capture you anywhere, doesn't seem to know where Abdul is. He certainly wasn't in the first search of the River Thames. Unfortunately, 2 non-Abduls were. Anyway, let's get on with it.
For the wrong to rule, the good must just stand idly by.
Happy Valentine's Day. It's nice to be back. I would like to talk about a few things, if that's all right with you. I suppose I should kick off. Yes, let's kick off with personal stuff. Just got back from Sri Lanka because I needed to leave the country. I was so shocked at the judgment that was handed down on the 29th. We were all very buoyant after the trial. It was 3.5 years to get to the trial. And we were very buoyant at the trial. We think it went really well. The transcript is available. If you want to read it, there are actually some quite funny bits. I'm told I can respectfully disagree with some of the things the judge said, and let's start by respectfully disagreeing. I think the most important thing was to be able to sit down and be tried by a jury of your peers. I think that's the right everyone should have when very slanderous things are said one way or the other. And I as much as I respect judges, I think they're not really in a position as one person to be able to administer justice. That's the job of a jury. So that's very disappointing. It's really what I found strange was that in the Court of Appeal, one of the claims of the counterclaims was thrown out. My comments to Nicola Thorpe in response to her very, very horrible tweet about me, which did some serious damage, but apparently not to the judge. That was thrown out because it was a rhetorical flourish, but the other 2 apparently aren't rhetorical flourishes and they have suffered serious harm. I don't know how she came to that decision. It almost felt like there wasn't even a trial and any evidence was heard. But I do urge actually anyone who wants to read the court transcript, because there's actually some quite funny bits in there. And then to say that first of all, not to define the meaning of the word racist, having been asked to do so by the Court of Appeal and told to do so, that was 6 times now. No judge has defined the meaning of the word racist. And then to say that I haven't suffered any serious harm. So the way that the judge gets around not defining the meaning of the word racist is by saying I haven't suffered any serious harm. So I struggle to understand how the loss of a 22-year career isn't serious harm. But it would seem that the threshold for serious harm is losing your job. It doesn't meet it. So I'd say that was a pretty bad day for justice. And as you know, whilst I fight these fights, I do so you don't have to in a lot of ways. And I'm not trying to, be some kind of hero. I'm just saying it's really important. We need to not shut down debate by using the word racist. Anyway, grounds for appeal are substantial and we will be appealing, which is great. And it just means another 6 months of what's already been 3.5 years of my life. Feels like it's like being at school, but rather more stressful. Anyway, thanks for your support. And I mean, what was quite amazing actually, by refusing to do that and define the word, meant that these people could go back on television and keep repeating the same allegation willy-nilly. So it seems that, is justice justice or is justice political? And I'm starting to sense that it feels slightly political to me to be able to repeat the same allegations again, then to make up bits of court transcript and all of it. I'm just sat there sort of vaguely defenceless against it, other than with my contact with you now and the very goodness of Julia Hartley-Brewer, who was the only person who wanted to hear the other side of the story. But as we all know, the mainstream media is dying. All mainstream media sites are going down by between 10 and 30%. So the new media will rise and the citizen media will rise, and that's going to be the best thing. And we must thank Elon Musk for allowing at least one place where free speech can exist, and it's crucial, absolutely crucial, because as we all know, free speech doesn't exist for you. It exists for the person that you disagree with the most, and it stops other ways of resolving conflicts coming into play, which is what no one wants. So we are going to appeal, and I will keep you updated on what goes on with that. The next phase is a remedies hearing where they do all the costs and all that sort of stuff. And then you ask for the right to appeal, and they say, the judge obviously says no, because the judge doesn't want her own judgment appealed. But then you go to the Court of Appeal and we do that. And it won't involve another 2.5 days in a witness box, which I can assure you is not pleasant, having someone try and paint you in the worst possible light. But, you know, life ain't fair, is it? So half the time. Anyway, I believe that, I have to believe that not all institutions in this country have been corrupted. I know we've got some major problems with the police, and I'm really hoping that we don't have major problems with the judiciary, and we're going to find out. And that's not because I'm right, it's because we need these questions answered. And I believe in the truth, and I will pursue the truth. So yeah, huge thank you to everyone who supported me during that period. Brendan O'Neill wrote very articulately about it, and if you're interested, you can find that in his article in Spiked Online. So where else are we going? Right, tomorrow, Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. Love, day of love, day of love. If you love your country, you've got to vote for Ben Habib. Now, look, there's a couple of issues with this whole system. I've always thought, and I think most of the British public think, and tell me if I'm wrong, but most people say to me, they want Conservatives to be, mainly they just want to be out of politics. Politics is sort of, as they say, show business for ugly people. It is. You want people to vote Conservative and Labour. A healthy tension between the two. If Labour aren't woke enough for you, you can always vote Green and, sit and worry about the end of the world coming because of, rising or sinking sea levels, or growing or shrinking ice caps, or getting too hot to live or too cold to live, or whatever the doomsday cultists are worried about now. You can vote Green. You vote Labour if you like a bit of anti-Semitism, which is a massive worry that Labour are still struggling with this problem. I just, again, it fits into the oppressor-oppressed narrative. People who don't know, and myself included, but a lot of people who know a lot less than I do about the situation in the Middle East, just see the Palestinians as the oppressed people, and therefore it fits into, it's a perfect vehicle for Labour to carry on being anti-Semitic. And as we've seen with their Rochdale candidate, appalling with what some of the MPs and former MPs have been saying quite publicly on TV, which I worry about a lot. So you've got anti-Semitism, Labour, then you've got Conservatives who've been in power for 14 years, aren't Conservative at all. Where was wokery 14 years ago? Were people saying, what's all this LGBTQ, LMNOP stuff, and where's it come from? Well, it's flourished under a Conservative government, and the Conservatives are meant to conserve our culture, which they haven't done at all. In fact, they won't, and they're not interested in what I think is the most crucial thing facing this country, which is the sort of desecration of our culture. We've seen it with our statues. I came into work today, and there's still bollards around the cenotaph. And, as I've said, if you don't protect your borders, you're going to end up protecting your monuments. And it's a very, very sad sight to see as you walk down Whitehall, barriers protecting our most monuments to those innocent young boys, essentially an entire generation, who lost their lives, and they fought for their country. And you'd ask themselves, interestingly, as we've mentioned, that, they're considering conscription. Would you sign up to fight for this country? I wouldn't, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. We're not even on our own side as a country. And what are we fighting for? As I got off the plane, I thought to myself, usually when you land in the UK, you go, oh, I'm home. Thank God, this is my home. This is my home country. I feel safe here. Do you? I don't. I don't feel safe here, particularly. I certainly don't feel safe in London. London is, what Sadiq Khan's done to London is absolutely criminal. And it's nice to know that you're going to, he's been complaining about the fact that, why should people have photo ID to vote? It's like, they needed photo ID to come to your fireworks display, buddy. So why shouldn't they need photo ID to do something much more important, which is to vote? So he's obviously getting a bit jumpy about that, which is interesting. And that will be interesting to say. But look, back to Wellingborough. Tories, they haven't been Conservative at all. So income reform to fit to the right of them. So what's the bonuses? The bonuses are that the reform doing well in Wellingborough might drag the Conservatives to the right, which I think is what I would like to see. I don't think that new political parties are really going to make a difference without proportional representation, but the Conservatives are the oldest, longest and most successful political party in history, and obviously, like monarchs, you have good ones and bad ones. So one hopes that the Conservatives will take this as a warning from their voters that they want the Conservative Party to be conservative, not the Lib Dems, which is what they are at the moment. So the plus side is that, hopefully Ben does really, really well. And because he loves his country and because of Valentine's Day and because we love our country, we want them to do well. And so please do consider voting for Ben. One wonders whether the anti-Semitism that is everywhere in this country, and it's been witnessed on the streets of London, I've walked through the marches, I've seen it, is just stunningly worrying. One wonders whether the Conservative voter, your average Conservative voter, might put aside their anger at the lack of conservatism going on from this government and go out and vote Tory, because, we don't want what happened the last time Labour came in. Our population has increased by 11 million since Tony Blair was voted in. And the British reproduction rate, I can't remember what the exact term is we reproduce about 1.6. And you need to reproduce, to replace your population, you need to be reproducing at 2.1. So the 11 million population increase is certainly not down to native Brits. Then in comes Labour, where there are anti-Semitism problems. So whilst I want Ben to do really well, I don't want reform, if they're going to stand in 630 seats, to take 4 or 5% or more off the Conservatives, because that's going to give Labour such a massive majority that they can bring in all of this divisive rubbish that they want to bring in, the Race Equality Act being one of them, which essentially instantiates diversity, equity and inclusion into law, along with ESG, which is going to make us all poorer and more miserable. And you look at life and you go, life is pretty hard for a lot of people. And what gives people meaning in their lives are their families and hope and friends and optimism and a sense that they're building a better future for those that come after them. We seem to have terrified a young generation. There's been a lot of polling done recently about young people, and young people just don't want to have children because they've been told that this world is, either going to explode in a big doomsday ball of Armageddon greenhouse gases, or some other problem's going to confront the world, or whatever it is, and people just don't want to have kids, and we're taking away the hope and the optimism. And it's that feeling I felt when I landed, which was I wasn't really coming home. It didn't feel like home. And I think all of us here in this country, of whatever skin colour and whatever ethnicity, who are British, who are here and are British citizens, get behind our values. And I feel like we're sort of lost. We don't know what those values are, but they're so crucial and they're so important. And I would put them down to an equality under the law for everybody, which diversity, equity, and inclusion goes against. A real strong sense of fairness and common sense and free speech, all of which have been under huge attack. And I've said frequently that I don't believe there is a political solution to a cultural problem. And I do wonder whether things are going to have to get so much worse for the none of the above party to get a good constituency and to be powerful at the ballot box, because I think we're being totally taken for granted by our politicians who will not engage with the issues that people are really concerned about. The complete transformation of their communities by uncontrolled immigration and a total lack of assimilation. Now, that's not everybody, but there is a large proportion of people. You only need to be in London on a Saturday afternoon to find out this is very much not a British city. So, in my rambling way, vote for Ben Habib, because if he was the Conservative candidate, he would walk it. And the Conservatives need to learn a lesson one way or the other. And Valentine's Day, Day of Love your country, as Ben Habib does. So please vote for Ben and for Rupert Lowe when his by-election comes around in a couple of weeks' time. What else? London, I've spoken about London, the mayoral and the city. It's amazing, actually. One of the things I thought about when I was away was the fact that, you can you go into a bus lane for 30 yards and you'll be photographed. They'll know exactly where you are. You drive at 24 miles an hour or 23 miles an hour in London's ridiculous 20-mile-an-hour zone, which is impossible to drive in because you keep staring at your speedometer all the time. But, everything for the planet. The absolutely not confected climate crisis. It's really, really, really real, as none of their predictions have ever come true. So where is Abdul? Abdul, in the new acid attack capital of Europe, London. Well done again, Sadiq. Abdul was seen walking purposefully towards the edge of the bridge, and the police are absolutely convinced that Abdul chucked himself off the bridge and got swept away in the murky waters below. Release police speedboat. Speedboat goes out, and like a bad carry-on film, it doesn't find Abdul, it finds two non-Abduls. So perhaps they should spend more time dredging the murky waters of the Thames so more families can find out what happened to missing loved ones. Anyway, if Abdul does turn out to have been dead, not that one would wish death on anyone, it's a very sad thing, but I think, if you think throwing corrosive substances and blinding women and children is a good idea, then I suppose the bottom of the Thames isn't the worst place for you. And this is, again, indicative of how London has changed and how massively and hugely it's changed, that this sort of thing is a regular occurrence. It's just appalling that these parts of cultures that have nothing to do with Great Britain are now common on the streets, along with the uncontrolled knife crime that Sadiq Khan refuses to deal with and in any way whatsoever. He's far, far, far too busy working out how to line his own pockets and feather his own nest. But good, I hope he's a little bit worried about the lack of, about the fact you've got to have photo ID to vote. Just on a sort of party business level, we're obviously not standing in the elections for the reasons I laid out. I am sympathetic to genuine conservatism. And I'm also sympathetic to quite a lot of left-leaning things, actually, as well. But, the media has me down as a Nazi, so I suppose I might as well play the Nazi card. I'm sympathetic to conserving our culture, and the culture that I want to preserve is, as I think I've said, as one of free speech and fairness and common sense and loving thy neighbour, which I think is the thing that we're forgetting to do in this divisive Marxist world of oppress. So on a bad law note, what we're going to do on a bad law note, well, let me finish that thought off actually. So that's why I would rather the Conservatives just became more conservative, and any pressure we can put on them to do so, we will. Speaking of which, the Bad Law Project, our letter before action, which will go to the government for the Department of Education over what's the political indoctrination of children in schools, will be going out at the end of this month. And we've had some positive noises actually made from inside the Houses of Parliament about people who are going to support us. And I think it's been beautifully prepared by Dr. Anna Lautvi, who is fantastic. And I think hopefully we can start to really get to the bottom of the problem that we've got, which is we're teaching children what's wrong with them. And that's not, and we're also giving them a lot of options that you don't want to give a child. I wouldn't give a child the option of, we don't let children smoke, and Rishi's going to ban them from fruity vaping. Well done, Rishi. We don't let children smoke, we don't let children drink, get tattoos, but we do tell them that they're possibly born in the wrong body. I mean, it's absolutely insane. So we need to stop the political indoctrination of our children in schools. I think that's going to take us so long because, these kids are coming out of school woke. I mean, there are some really great ones like Monty, who I spoke to the other day, who, really do apply critical thinking, and it's down to decent parenting and all those sorts of things. But we want children to go to school to believe that the country that they live in is not a horrible, racist, vile, colonial, ex-colonial piece of rubbish, and we don't need all these extra months and these days and these celebrations of things that, you know, it's totally unacceptable in this country to be racist. And yet on television, this has really annoyed me. The number of incredibly brilliant black, especially black and brown intellectuals who happen to not be sort of, oh, woe is me race baiters out there in society are huge. You've got your Thomas Sowells and your Shelby Steeles and these people, and the intellectuals who can talk on this in this field, and Coleman Hugheses, who you never see these guys on TV because they don't fit the narrative. The narrative is you've got to go on TV and trash Britain. And you know what? I think enough. I'm sorry. I find trashing our country about the worst thing you can do. I'm extremely proud to be British, and I'm extremely proud to defend the things that I've laid out that I believe are part of this country for my own kids, so they can do the same moving forward, and we can honour those who have fought for these freedoms before. So, yeah, that's going to be happening. I'm back. It's lovely to see you, and I just wanted, again, as I always do, to say a huge thank you to those that have offered me so much support, and people who stop me in the street or come and talk to me. Thank you, because it makes such a difference, and it lifts us up. And one day we'll get to the point where where people have had enough, and then the Reclaim Party shall rise from the ashes. Now remember, it's Valentine's. Well, no, not rise from the ashes. No, then the Reclaim Party. One day things might get so bad that you'll need us, and the Reclaim Party will rise like a phoenix. Anyway, have a lovely week, and go out and vote for Ben if you're in Wellingborough tomorrow, or vote Conservative if you don't want Labour to have a huge majority at the next election before they trash the country for 5 years. Oh dear. Anyway, sending love. Find Abdul. Abdul?